Hey OT speedrunners, this is going to be a tutorial on the new age change SRM which takes place in Lost Woods. This is a pretty amazing new find. Most importantly, this lets us skip the Master Sword cutscene in a couple categories, as well as equip Mirror Shield as Child in any category that would benefit from that. Which right now, the benefits of this category are applying to No Wrong Warp and, pending a vote at the time of this video, all dungeons as well. This video is going to be mostly just an execution based tutorial, not really going to go into any technical detail surrounding the trick. What I will do is link Mr. Cheese's original video of the discovery, which has a very detailed explanation in the video description, which you can follow along and learn a bit more about what's actually going on a technical level there. This video itself is a bit of an update from Kiran's original video, which I will also link. Basically just a bunch of optimizations that were put together over the last day by myself and a couple others to really make this SRM as smooth as possible. This video as well is going to be a pretty direct follow-up from a video Danny B has just put out on title file SRM, which is roughly where you see me in the game just now. I'm about to finish executing that. In most cases right now, before going to Lost Woods to do that SRM for age change, you are going to be coming from title file. There may be cases where you're not, but I think right now most applications are going to be using this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and then we're going to talk through what we need to do to set up Lost Woods SRM and execute it. It should all hopefully be pretty straightforward. This SRM is not actually difficult to execute. There's a couple finicky sections, but as far as SRMs go, this is quite a comfy one, so hopefully it's easy enough to follow. So first of all, one really important thing when you're following up from title file is you obviously have Return A and Walking While Talking enabled. And a big factor of that is that we can't target the camera, so we have to be very careful about where the camera goes, how it looks, because over to Link's, sort of up left from Link just now, there is a bush that we are using function from, which if we load for more than a frame is going to crash the game. So when you are moving around after title file, you need to make sure that bush stays unloaded, and the best way to do that is basically to move into position, do your C up as shown in Danny's video, and then flick down and C up again to force the camera to look to the shop that's currently on Link's right, and then we can sort of move towards Lost Woods from there. What we're actually going to do though is dip in and out of Mido's house first, because we're heading to a grotto in order to get the bugs and fish required for the glitch. And if you don't load the area again by entering or leaving any of the houses around here, so the shop, Mido's house is probably the most optimal. The grotto isn't actually functioning, you can't enter it, so we need to enter the house and exit it to reload the area and make that grotto available to us. So it kind of looks as follows. So we have title file, as you can see now, so I'm going to come out of C up, flick down and C up again, and that turns the camera to be safely away from the bush on the left. And then I'm just going to move through this water and come over here to Mido's house. And you'll see once I come in here a few things have changed. So Link is now wearing the Hylian shield, I've got bombs on C down, Ocarina on C right, so that has really set the title file in place now. So we're just going to exit Mido's house, and we're going to head up towards Lost Woods. And we're going to go to the grotto that is just by the Gossip Stone up here. So you need to play Song of Storms. And you're going to enter this grotto and catch fish and bugs. To do that, we want to head over here. We're going to need to equip Choose for Lost Woods. We're going to want a bottle as well. And in this case, I'm just going to shield swipe over Ocarina, so we want Deku shield as well. So I'm going to shield swipe the fish. to cut this bush, and we're going to grab the bugs. And that is basically everything we need to do the Lost Woods SRM. And now we're going to head into Lost Woods in just a second. There's a lot going on in Lost Woods, so hopefully I'm going to try and break it down into manageable chunks. But yeah, like I said before, most categories right now that use this are going to be coming from title file. If for any reason you're not, just make sure that you have fish in a bottle, bugs in a bottle, choose some bombs, and that should be pretty much everything you need in order to make this work. One other thing to note right now, at the time of this video, the setup I'm going to show is 1.2 specific, as is the trick itself. I think other versions are being worked on, but if you aren't on version 1.2, which is most commonly the VC version, you are probably not going to be able to do this right now, just something to note. So we're going to head into Lost Woods. So you'll see on my screen that I've got a few different watches in the bottom right there, which are all very important for actually debugging this glitch and knowing what you're doing during the SRM. So that top one there is Link's facing angle. You'll see as I turn him, he faces any given direction, that value changes, and that's really important for later when we're actually performing setups. The second one beneath that is the fish data. Now we need to put a fish in a very particular part of the heap in memory, and so that value is really important to be able to debug and make sure that you've got the fish in the right place before going any further. And the bottom three watches there are related to the bushes that are over in the Goron City entrance room of Lost Woods. All those bushes at some point need to be zeroed out. Specifically, we're going to write Link's facing angle, that top value on the watches, to one of those bushes to make this SRM happen. But we're just gonna dive in and go through the actual execution of this trick here. So you're gonna enter Lost Woods, and the first thing you want to do before getting to this log here is pull a bomb tube, and then you're gonna blow it up in the middle of the log here, off the seam, like so. And then you're gonna roll on through to the Goron City entrance room, and in a run situation you're most likely to have an owl here, so you're gonna talk to the owl and get rid of him. Really important thing is that you want to despawn this owl completely in order to put the fish in the right place on the heap. If you try and go too fast and the owl still exists on the map, the fish isn't going to be in the right place. So we learned yesterday a slightly quicker way to get rid of the owl, because it turns out he exists on this map for ages. So when he flies away, as soon as Link regains control, you're going to pull a bomb tube, and just like before, blow it up in the middle of the log. Just like this. So pull your bomb tube, blow it up here, and then at this point you're going to roll to my left just now, back to the edge of the log in the Ocarina minigame room, and what that does is allows the owl to despawn, and it forces him to despawn. So instead of waiting, you can now force it to happen. So you're going to roll over here. Once you get to there, you're going to back up to the middle of the log. And this can all be done really fluidly, but I'm just going to go through this quite slowly. So you're going to back up to the middle of the log, and this is where you're going to drop your bugs, and then you're going to drop your fish. And watch that second value change when I do this. So we drop bugs, and then you're going to want to turn around to drop fish, just so they don't overlap and you don't risk catching the fish again. So you want to turn around and drop your fish, and watch that 803025 change. So you'll see there it's changed to E420 AC84, and that is your target value. That is telling you that the fish is in the right place on the heap, and that so far you've done everything correctly. So if you don't have that value, something has gone wrong. If you've got that value, great, you can continue. So then we're going to turn around and catch bugs, and you can just close this text immediately, you don't have to worry. And then you're going to roll back through here to the main room, and you want to come really pretty much fully into this room. So you want to step right to the edge of the log here, more or less. You can optimize this pretty well, but for safety it's worth coming right to the edge of it. You need to fully load this room and unload the one behind for this to work. So you want to come right the way through, and then you're going to back walk, and you're going to side hop down here. Now there's 2 rupees in this grass that we want to collect, so we're going to collect the green one and the blue one. That's all safe, but you need to avoid the rupee that exists in this patch here. So you can either roll around it on this side, or you want to come around here and just totally avoid that grass in the middle. If you get that invisible rupee in there, it'll unfortunately mess the heap up, and you won't be able to perform the rest of SRM. So you're going to climb the ladder, and there's quite a bit more going on once we hit the top of this ladder, so I'm just going to go through it slowly. What you're going to want to do initially is drop a chew. Just climb up the ladder, drop a chew, and then immediately dump some bugs. So climb up the ladder, drop chew, and dump the bugs. And then you're going to pause and equip bombs. Equip bombs like that. Now, what happens next is we need to wait for this chew to explode. This whole section here relies on the bugs. You're on their timer, them despawning. But we need to wait for this chew to explode and the explosion to completely dissipate, so it's gone completely. And then we're going to drop a couple bombs. So chew runs away and explodes. Drop 2 bombs and catch some bugs. And here, leave this text up. You need to let these bugs burrow completely, so you can see they're burrowing. And once they're fully gone, you can close the text and you can head back through to the Goron City room. Now, you need to be relatively quick, but you should have plenty time. You just need to get through to that room before the bombs explode. And watch the bottom 3 watches that I have on my screen. You should see them all go to 0. C000. And you see that happen there. So you need to just get through, basically onto this log, for that to happen. So from here, we're gonna need to do a super slide. So what we've done basically is we've made the value of these bushes the value that you see at the bottom of the screen. That's C000. And we're gonna do a super slide off one of these bushes and head through into that room there. In order to pick one up above Link's head, we're gonna get a super slide off one. So you're gonna come and line up onto this trunk here. Just make sure you're lined up pretty straight. Doesn't really matter. You don't have to be dead on, just relatively straight. Then you're gonna turn to the right. You're gonna turn to the right and do either 1 ESS left or 2 ESS left. I favor 1. I just find that it looks a bit nicer. Works a bit easier. So you want to be relatively close to the edge of the log, just so the position for this works. And then you're going to shield drop a bomb, roll forwards, and backflip. And on about the 7th fast red flash, you're going to mash A and hold R to get a super slide. You don't want to shield flick after your backflip, because that will cancel the side roll that you need to get this to work. So what I'll do, I'll maybe save a state here and just show this a couple times just so it's very clear. So save a state. Just there. So we're gonna get up against the log, turn to the left there, shield drop a bomb, roll, backflip, and super slide like so. And once you're through the tree trunk, you can just let go of target and shield, and Link now has picked up, an invisible item, invisible bush. And you'll see my facing angle at the top of those watches there, and also the top watch from the bushes at the bottom, are now identical, which means this has been successful. We have written Link's facing angle to one of these bushes. Particularly, I think it's this one at the front here. So that's a really good sign if you've done that. That means that everything is worked up to this point, and all you've got left now is the angle setup to do. You shouldn't run into any more issues before setting that up. So we're just going to go through that maybe one more time. So against the log here, turn left, shield drop a bomb, backflip, don't shield flick, super slide, pick it up. Now optimally what you want to do, because you're heading back to the very first room of Lost Woods, so you're going to turn around and back walk through here. You're also going to back walk through here, and then come up to this room here. Now, you can sort of set this up wherever you can come right into the room. You need to start with a specific angle, that angle of x8000, which these walls give you, but you can also get it just from the tree trunk here. So you can make sure you get that angle, and you can do the whole setup. You want to back up towards the middle of the tree trunk, and you can do the whole angle setup from here. So there are 3 steps to this, which can be a bit tricky. So this is why it's really important to have that angle watch up on screen. This is going to help you learn. It's going to help you execute this well during practice and help you develop visual cues. One thing I'm going to do is just move or hide some of these watches. The bush ones at the bottom there, I don't really want them visible just now, or I'm just going to move them off the mini-map actually is what I'm going to do, because it can be helpful to have visual cues on the mini-map, it turns out. So you've got the mini-map clear there now, which is good. So, you're coming up to the log here, and you get your angle of x8000, so it's really important that you have that. It's kind of easy to walk up and, you know, if you come from a certain angle, not quite target this right, so make sure, push up against this, go neutral, target, and you'll get your angle. Back up into the middle, and the first thing we're going to do is ESS right 28 turns. That's quite a lot, but what you can do is something called helicopter ESS. So you're gonna basically hold ESS right and basically just mash target to turn Link round in a circle. And the value we're looking for at the top here is XBB20. So we're gonna spin round like this, and we'll see we're at B418. I need to go back 1. You'll see BB20. Now if you're in the middle of the log, the good visual cue for this is just Link's position relative to the tree trunk in front. You'll see if I go left 1, he's sort of facing the left side. If I go right 1, he's facing the right side. And that's a really easy way to know that that's correct. And then you're going to want to align Link to the camera. So to do that, you can hold ESS up and retarget, or just push up, let him take a couple steps and retarget while he's walking forwards. So up and retarget, and you'll see it's changed ever so slightly to BB30. And that is what we want before we do the next angle. Then we're going to turn right another 22 ESS turns, so you want to helicopter again until you're facing in the log here. And that is actually the value we want, which is 2080. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. If your position is pretty consistent, you can kind of tell from, again, where Link's facing relative to the environment around him. But you can also, in my experience, use the mini-map for this one, which is quite helpful. So you'll see right now, if you look at the yellow marker on the mini-map and the flat bottom of the triangle, the sort of the short side of the triangle there, you'll see that it's quite smooth. If I turn 1 ESS left, you can kind of see that there's it's kind of bubbled a bit, there's some nodes on it, but if I turn 1 ESS back to the right, it smooths out completely. It's subtle, but personally I found that it's quite a good visual cue. I know a few others have used it as well. If you go too far to the right, it's pretty obvious. Link's facing quite far out from the log, so, you know, do what's comfortable for you here. For me, a mixture of the environmental sort of cues and the minimap have been really helpful. It won't always look identical on the minimap, but the whole of Lost Woods is on this minimap, so any movement you make is pretty small, and any variation in where you're standing is not going to be huge. So 2080 is correct. We're going to want to adjust the camera again by pushing up and retargeting to get 2088, and that is what we want before we make our last turn. And now we're going to ESS to the left 16 turns until we get 9108 as our value. So we ESS to the left, need one more, 9108. Now, if you're generally standing at the front of the log like this, sort of just inside the tree trunk, when you have this angle, Link's going to be basically between the two tree trunks. So you can see that I'm not quite facing the one I'm in, and if I go a bit too far, I'd be facing that other one. I'm kind of between the two. Again, you can sort of use the mini-map for this one. The yellow arrow is pointing kind of between straight up and the left corner. If you are here, it's basically pointing at the middle. If you go too far to the left, it's kind of pointing directly at the corner. So 9108 is the angle that you want. And that's it. You have your angle. That is specifically what you need to finish this off. Then what you're going to do is walk back to Link's right. So you can hold right or down right here just to start moving back through into this room. And then we're going into the tree trunk just in front of me here. So you want to kind of hold right or upright to move into it, and then hold right there. And you'll see Link just popped up. And what's just happened there is the game has basically just set Link's state to adult. Now, as child Link, let's say the value is 0, and as adult Link the value is 1. The game has just changed our value from 0 to 1, and it has made us adult Link. And if I pause, you'll see that I now have an adult model on the equipment screen, and I also have the mirror shield. And so we know that the glitch has been successful. One thing to note here is that if for any reason you were going to be unpausing after this, you want to drop the bush that is above Link's head before you pause. So shield drop it and then pause once he's popped up onto the seam. Or not popped up onto the seam, sorry, once his model has been popped up to adult Link's height. Because if you have the bush in hand, it seems like there's sort of a 50-50 crash that goes on. So if for any reason you are going to be unpausing after this, which might be the case in a category that wants to continue as child and use mirror shield, you're going to want to drop the bush, then equip your stuff, and then unpause. But basically that final pop-up is the way to know that this has been successful, and you can just pause immediately once that's happened. I think you want to avoid going too far forwards into this log. I think if you step too far forwards into the transition, it can cause a crash. I'm not 100% on that, but I've seen it happen a few times, so just be wary of that. You want to walk into the main room side of the log and let Link pop up, and then you can just pause. And from there, you should be fine. And that is really how simple it is. It's really straightforward. It's not the hardest SRM anyone's had to do. The angle is really the toughest bit of this, but if you can work out either using the visual cues I've described or your own visual cues, it's really easy to master quite quickly. Obviously with SRM, it's still very easy to be slightly off and crash the game. I do it all the time, but with a bit of practice you should be able to do this. And if you need to set things back up, that's okay. You know, if you need to start your angle over, just walk back up at the log, retarget, do the angle setups again, and you'll be just fine. But that really is about it for the age change SRM. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Just get in touch with me and I'll see if I can help you out if there's any debugging needing to go on. Put quite a lot of work into optimizing this stuff. Like I said, I'm going to link some of the original videos in my description just so you can see some of the progress we've made. And I'm also just now going to show a nice clean execution of this in full, just so you can see the sort of speed you can get up to when executing this glitch. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful and clear. If it's not, let me know, and I'll sort things out, but hopefully this is enough to get you all started on age change SRM, and have fun with equipping mirror shield as child, and you know, especially in No Wrong Work right now, using an invisible Deku shield optimally as adult Link. Ocarina of Time is a wonderful game right now. Yeah, thanks guys for listening to this. Hopefully it's helpful, and I will see you around.